Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you after Game 4 between the Heat and the Celtics. I don't know. I'm not that excited only because I like good games that go down on the wire, not necessarily blowouts. I'm sure the Celtics fans out there are really excited, so we'll have to talk all about that and get them hyped up. And as always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Salop to discuss everything going on. Combo, how are you feeling tonight? Uh-oh. Well, that's weird.
You muted me, unmuted me. All is well, Coach Nick. Good game for the Celts. I mean, Grant Williams was huge. I felt like Al Horford knocking down shots, even exploiting a few mismatches. And Tatum definitely had himself a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's nice. The other guys were there, but, Tatum was really the key. I kind of thought Jaylen Brown deserves a little kudos as well. He turned it around, but both Tatum and Brown were terrible in the first half. They had that same funk that they just didn't look confident. They were getting stripped every time down. It was crazy. So that is a real a problem that both these guys, and Tatum in particular, needs to solve, because you can't show up for a half like this. Did they say, was that right? Because did I miss this? He hadn't scored a bucket in the fourth quarter of the first three games. Did you hear that?
That's what they said. Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't even know if I realized that. And I was pouring through clips all over the place. So
he hasn't even been putting up a lot of shots in fourth quarters, period. Like he's been, no, it's not points. It might be field goals, because I know he got free throws in the fourth.
Past. That's what they said, field goals. So that's just kind of crazy. But the Heat had this. The Heat were in firm control, about to blow it open, 9-10 point lead, something like that. The Celtics looked just, they were reeling in what would typically be a closeout game that this extends into a blowout because, the Heat are at home. But good for the Celtics to find something. So the biggest thing I think I would take away from this is that in the videos I've been doing, you could see how far the Heat defense was overloading toward the ball. And you're not supposed to be able to do that, right? If you come over that close from one pass away, it's supposed to be like a quick whoop, a quick pass, quick shot, three ball, and that's over. You can't do that anymore. Well, they kept doing it, and the Celtics finally started hitting those shots. So perhaps we will see now a little bit more space for Tatum out top to get some penetration and do some stuff, because that was killing him before that.
Do you think there's a chance they could push this to 6 or even 7?
I don't think so. I mean, not that it would be unprecedented, but I don't think that they're gonna. I mean, someone said gentleman sweep in the comments, and that probably seems like a possibility. But then again, they're going back to Boston now, and that'll be a boost. Maybe they found some things, because again, they were the Heat were getting away with murder defensively, and it was impressive that they said, you know what, if they're going to keep missing these things, if Jaylen Brown's going to keep shooting 10% from three, we're going to keep giving him more and more room. Now they can balance it out and get back to some better positions and probably play some better. Now, the other side of the ball is also a problem. Like Jimmy, even when Jimmy was scoring like that 5 points in a row in the third and whatever, he still looked kind of like tentative. It was weird. He's like, he didn't really want to shoot it. And then, okay, fine, I'll shoot the layup. Okay. And then he fell apart like this. So the ball was starting to fly. And then all of a sudden the Heat looked like the Celtics, right? It was like a total reversal.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy did look like for that split second that he had that mind shift, like he wanted to flip the switch, but he just couldn't do it all the way. Jimmy has always been like that, in a sense that if he doesn't have to score, he's not going to score. Like when he feels like he has to, that's when he'll do it. That's why he goes through the whole regular season only averaging in the lower 20s, because it's not really something he wants to do, but in the playoffs, he knows he has to.
I guess so. And you know what? He is really, really good when he's attacking but looking to pass, because then you don't know how to guard him, right? And like he had that one beautiful pass to Zeller, who looped underneath the basket for it.
Yeah, and one, right?
Yeah, for the and one, yeah. And it was like he was looking for it the whole time. He's like, I'm in the lane, I'm in a scoring mode here, a scoring area, but I don't want to do it. It's interesting. And it's fine. That could sort of work, but at some point they needed him to turn that back on and just go to work. Grant Williams, by the way, blocked his turnaround, and I posted on Twitter. I stared hard at that footage. I want to make sure he didn't say anything. He did not this time. He learned his lesson. Did not get Jimmy, because again, that's kind of what the Heat were waiting for, right? If there was another moment like that and Jimmy suddenly, they had a chance. It was like 14. They get a steal. They come down. They miss a layup, and they give up another layup on the other end. That turns into a 16, 18-point lead, whatever it was. There are these moments, and it was like the Heat. That's as bad as the Heat had played in the half. I suppose if you're going to go through a bad stretch like the Celtics did, do it in the first half, right, and get that out of your way. And then literally the Heat, the same exact issues. It's kind of crazy.
It looked like it was going to be a sweep in the first half. And even when the Celtics were playing well for small stretches in the first half, it just felt like, the Heat could make this happen and make it a sweep. So, kudos to Boston, because a sweep would have looked really bad. And I think maybe this helps them keep this team together, because it would have got crazy if they got swept. Like, they would have almost felt like they had to make changes.
Yeah. Well,
big changes.
We'll see what happens in the next game, because that's going to be important, right? Because a sweep, I had said 5 games is what's going to probably make them change coaches, I thought. So we'll see what happens in game 5. But I went on record. I was willing to say it, the Brown, maybe trade Brown. The problem is, it's like, what do you get back for him? I was kind of racking my brains for an interesting trade for AD today, and I think maybe Brown was part of that. But I think Smart. I think Smart's the guy. Now, Smart played better tonight. He hit a couple of threes, but he was also, not good. It's just the Marcus Smart experience. He's just all over the place. And again, I would, as a coach, would not want that guy, deep in the playoffs playing 30 some minutes. It's too, my hair would fall out.
But I feel like Marcus Smart means more to the Celtics than he would for anybody else. Like, he's the heart and soul of that team. And what kind of trade value is there for him? Like, you could probably get a lot for Jaylen Brown, because I think, in my opinion, Jaylen Brown could be a superstar somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I have, what was my, I'm going to get to that in a second, actually. Let me get the tweet of the text open, because I want to remember what I was saying for the good move. Okay. But yeah, so, but I don't know. Either way, I'm just thinking that, Marcus Smart, he's just, I know he's sort of the heart and soul, and he probably feels like he needs to be, because otherwise they're going to realize that and trade him and upgrade that position. So I get it. And there are times when I really like him. I really like the audacity. He'll do plays that you're like, oh my God. And they're successful. And other times they're not. Like, he had one in the last game where they lobbed it into him in the post, and he went up and then in one motion tried to catch it, turn, fade, bank it, on the way down, falling on his butt. I mean, and then it turned into a fast break for the Heat. Stuff like that. You don't see the really good players who are really, really smart. They don't do that. And here we are.
Do you feel that his defensive impact is the same as it was last season?
I've also never been the biggest defensive guy for him either.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, last season he was really good.
Yeah. I mean, I know he won the Defensive Player of the Year award, and I know he tries really, really hard. But I don't know. I must have a standard that's impossible to live up to for defense, because it's like I've always had issues with him. His positioning on the weak side has been strange at best, and then there are times on the ball too where I guess everyone struggles now because everyone's so good with the handle. So I get it. I get the on ball stuff for the most part. I just don't. I just see everything else that drives me nuts too often. And then, I'm not seeing, am I seeing a lot of good defensive stuff in this series? I don't know. Are you seeing him just shut?
I mean, no, I don't think it's the same impact as last season. That's why I was asking you. I wanted to hear your opinion on it. But I felt like, as a team, that everybody's going to be talking about offense, but their defense was a huge difference maker in this game right here. I thought it was their best defensive game of the series.
It was. They were active. I mean, certainly in the second half, like something kind of switched a little bit. And then it was also, okay, so I know what I want to talk about is Gabe Vincent, having scored 29 points in the game before, and probably the first time ever in any, level that he'd been playing at. I think he kind of got a little bit ahead of himself, got a little ahead of his skis. I think he was taking shots that he wouldn't normally take, and it actually was working okay in the first half, but then by the second half it wasn't. And I think that he needs to get back to being, Gabe Vincent role player, not dribble drive maestro, and get them back in that setting. By the way, I was thinking about Tyler Hero, and I was going through some footage to figure out they lost the play-in game to the Hawks, if you remember, and they had to win the next game just to barely make it the playoffs, and here we are. And obviously one of the differences is that Hero is off the court, and it does what I observed a little bit in the brief possessions I watched. There's something about Jimmy becomes the focal point, right? And he's not when Tyler Hero plays. So Obviously, that's the difference.
You're talking about for the defensive strategy of the other team?
Yeah, or just the way the offense functions. Jimmy becomes the hub, and he can drive either on ISOs or he can drive, penetration and get other guys going. When Hero is in there, he's a lot more off ball and he's a lot less aggressive that way. And then in the regular season, when they played together, Jimmy would play a lot less minutes, so he's playing a lot more minutes now anyway.
But my question to you is, do you feel that was because he was playing with Hero, or that was because it was the regular season?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think Hero takes the ball out of Jimmy's hands a lot. Certainly, and that's not necessarily the worst thing because you want to have a varied offense and multiple attacks. But clearly, when you're looking at like how that was functioning, it just seems a lot better. Their offense actually went up better a lot more in the later half of the year after the trade deadline, after Kevin Love got there. And so they got better, and then this is as good as their offense has been in the playoffs without Hero. So, but we have our first super chat. Let's get to best friend of the breakdown, Andrew Zhu. Andrew, thank you so much. Great to see you as always on our live show. Brogdon hasn't been the floor general point guard. C's brought him in to be just jacks up threes. I think he's been pretty good. He won the Sixth Man of the Year. Am I crazy? He did that, right?
He did. He beat out quickly.
Yeah. So I think he's been excellent all year long. Tonight was not a good game from him. He really struggled, and maybe last in Game 3 as well. And again, I've always been amazed that he can be consistent with that shot with the huge airspace, and it's far away from him. But there are moments when he gets a little bit rushed and he can't find that energy to transfer with that set point that it doesn't go in. I mean, it ain't pretty. But he got stripped a little bit. He looked a little bit. Some fouls that were troubling. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, they won easily, so that's good for them. But yeah, they got to get Brogdon back on track somehow.
I love Brogdon's game, to be fully transparent, but he hasn't been as good this series. But he actually had some nice stuff, like some change of pace stuff, and he was just missing shots. I think sometimes it's just a make or miss league, as I know that's a common saying, but it really is true. Sometimes a player is playing well, they're just not making shots, and I think that's what it's been with him. Maybe he'll have a big game next game, but yeah, I love Brogdon's game. I personally love his game.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, I had been predicting that they were going to have to start him at some point, and I thought they were for sure going to do it in Game 7 against Philly. And they've been messing around with, and they brought Rob Williams in for Derek White instead of Brogdon. But I think that's in a lineup they should. I mean, they go to that lineup anyway with Brogdon instead of White, and then Horford at center. So that's a lineup they play anyway. I would almost say start it, see what happens. If you need a boost in the beginning and you're already down, why not? So we'll see. But yeah, it was just a weird game. It was a weird game where they flipped brains at halftime. And whatever was troubling the Celtics, and it was troubling. I was starting to wonder, is Tatum's kid keeping him up at night? Is he not sleeping well? I don't know what else to explain it. He is that, you know what I mean? He's that. Everything was bothering him. It was disconnected. He was fouling, just all completely strange. And not that they're lucky, but because he's so good that he just got back on track. But this has got to stop happening. Otherwise they're going to get beat and they're going to get knocked out pretty quick.
Tatum is greatly talented, but I don't know if he's great.
That's interesting. I like that. Greatly talented, but we don't know if he's great. Yeah, that's probably right. So we'll have to see. I wish I could find that out and ask. I mean, I could ask, but I don't want to. What exactly is going on?
Ask what?
What's going on with Tatum? But
I mean, he from a leadership standpoint, from an attitude standpoint, it wasn't good in the first half.
Did you see that? Did you see the clip of him leaving the game?
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that as your team's best player. You just can't do that. I mean, in an elimination game, that's a bad look. That's a bad look. Good thing they won, because everybody would have been pointing at that.
Well, and good thing that he hit a couple shots and reminded everybody, I guess, because normally when you see that he's already angry and whatever, then he's going to miss shots. But he responded, and that was really, really important. It's a regression to the mean to some degree because the Celtics were so bad from three and they just couldn't hit those open shots. And you can see again, when those corner defenders keep creeping up higher and higher to present a wall for the guy on the wing, it's supposed to be a quick pass and a three, and they finally started to hit him. They were helping off of one pass on drives, and they just pass it, and they were hitting them. So overall, in the final, let me get the box score here. I'm kind of curious because I know they hit 18 threes. Let's see here. The Celtics outscored the Heat by They had 18 threes, and the Heat had 8. So I can tell you right now, if you score 10 more threes than the other team, then you're going to win 90% of the time. Easy. You're not going to lose that game. No matter how many turnovers you and how many offensive rebounds you give up, if you hit 10 more threes, you're going to win that game almost every time. So that was the name of the game, I think, right? Isn't that sort of the answer here? Is hitting some threes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Tatum played great. Kudos to him. I do think a big difference was Al Horford and Grant Williams knocking down those shots. That made all the difference. They knocked down shots. Al Horford had been struggling, and Grant Williams, everybody was looking at him because of that Jimmy Butler situation, which I thought was like slightly ridiculous. You can't blame it totally on him, but I think he did egg on Butler, but he came back and had a great game. So shouts to him. Right.
Well, don't forget, if you want your questions answered, Super Chat is the way to go. It really helps us keep the show going. And thank you already to Andrew for that. We'll put your name
up on Andrew.
The screen. We'll give you some love. We'll answer your questions and all that stuff. So let's see here. I actually did shoot an invite over to Chris. I saw him over in the comments. We'll see if he gets the email and checks it out. But what else can we talk about, man? I mean, again, it was a blowout in a way that even though it may be like, 8 minutes ago in the fourth quarter, you thought possibly that the Celtics could do something, or sorry, that he could do something, but it just wasn't, they could not get control of the ball. It's interesting. In fact, yeah, go ahead.
Well, a topic we could talk about is, my fault, is LeBron. They're talking about him retiring. I mean, he didn't say that. He said he has to think about it, but
yeah, I didn't get anything from what he said. I didn't get retiring from that. He's going to sort of sit down and think about it. I mean, I guess, okay, the answer being anything less than I'm back next year. I'll be working out all summer. Yada, yada. Anything less than that, okay, maybe it sounds like it's a retirement. But
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, take a year off, watch Brownie play, work out.
I was about to say that. I think at some point he'll take a gap year and come back. I could definitely see that happen.
I mean, I think it'll be this year because then he'll come back for one more year with Bronny. He'll sign with whatever team, drafts him. Crazier things have happened. And he looks, I mean, again, the only question now is, would he benefit from rest? Yeah, but I don't know if you can come back from that much layoff at that age. That could also be a detriment to, the amount of time not competing like that. Your body could, it might just take a long time to get back.
Didn't Michael Jordan do that?
Yeah, but Michael Jordan did it at 33.
No. Wizards years.
Oh, that's true. But was it 2 years? Or was it a year? What was it? I mean, maybe it was certainly at least a year, right?
No, it was more than a year.
It was. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It was 3 years.
Yeah.
But it was at 34, 35, 35, 36, 37. So he comes back 38, 39. LeBron would be doing it at 38 or 39 and coming back at 40 or something. That's different. But it's the
I feel like if he took a year off and came back, he would be better than, I think him at 40 would be better than Jordan at 39. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, maybe. We won't even discuss why.
I mean, he's still playing at a really high level. What are you talking about right now that you're trying to hide?
Nothing. Okay. We have another super chat. Thank you, Hunter. This is the first super chat from Hunter. So, here we go. Okay, first from Hunter. And thank you so much, Hunter. Very generous of you.
Thank you, Hunter.
I feel like Jimmy got a little comfy with the team, playing well this series. Needed to be even more aggressive in the fourth. Yeah, I mean, comfy. I mean, you can't say he was scared, but again, we mentioned earlier, he looked just unaggressive. If that's a word. And it's so weird to see him when he was so aggressive and so intent on putting the team on his back and then feeding off of that. That's why by the way, there were times in the first half where Cody Martin was better than Tatum. He was.
I mean, Reggie was saying Cody's the best player in this series.
I mean, that's silly.
He said he was playing the best or something to that effect. Somebody in the comments let me know what Reggie Miller was saying because it sounded like something like that.
Well, yeah, that's enough. We don't talk about Reggie too much, but when you look at the way he was playing, and then you compare that to Tatum, like he's playing better than Tatum. He's not better than Tatum, but he's playing better than Tatum. So as a result, like you're getting more production from Cody Martin than you are from Jason Tatum, and that's going to flip the series. So it's they need him to get back to doing that. And the question is, on the road, it'll be a little bit harder. But I wouldn't screw around. I would come out in game 5 and I would pretend that it's 0-0, or I'd pretend that I'm down, the Heat are down 3-1. You know what I mean? That's the kind of mindset they have to have to attack this and get back to it. Because even the defensive stuff, I mean, again, they were doing everything they needed to do in the first half. They were well on their way to just taking control of the game. So, but I will say, I think it was their offense. The offense seemed like it fell apart more than the defense did in the second half. But the adjustments need to be made. They can't. I think that they're going to need to deal with how far they're getting off of the man off the ball and decide if they want to continue to do that and give the Celtics some more comfortability, or keep them, keep people more honest and stop that ball, but from getting shots. But we have Chris is with us. Let's throw him in here. What's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up,
Good,
Chris?
good. How are you?
Doing good. Can't complain.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us late night over on the East Coast. What do you think of the game?
Like you said earlier, first half was a little shaky for the Celtics. But second half turned out to be a change of pace, I guess you can say, from what was expected. I guess the Celtics like to give up and the Heat to just come back and win the game.
It was right from the beginning, right? Right from the second half, as soon as the tip or whatever, the inbound.
Yeah. Like the Celtics would score like six points in a row or something like that, and then the Heat, like Caleb Martin would come in, hit a shot, hit something. Like that's what was happening games 1 through 3. And anytime the Celtics made any type of run, Caleb Martin was basically the run stopper. He would hit a corner 3, cut to the basket, whatever the case may be. And then I guess they kind of that cooled off in the second half in this game.
Yeah, well, they hit him with an 18-0 run that started with about 10:39 left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So pretty much right out of the get-go. Now, that said, there was a 5-0 run by the Heat just before that gave them that 9-point lead, which is really where it felt like, okay, this is it. They're going to, whatever. This is going to take control of this game and it'll just fall apart. But it was weird. The Heat fell apart instead. And so in that 18-0 run, you're talking about Tatum hits a 3. Tatum hits a 3. There's a timeout in there. Then Derek White hits a 3. Let's see here. Jason Tatum hits a 2. Marcus Smart hits that 3, and that was also, I think they doubled Tatum off of Smart, and Smart hits that 3 in the left wing.
Yeah.
And then Derek White gets a steal, and then he makes those free throws. So it didn't take long. It took about about 4 minutes to go 18-0, and that was it. They never really recovered. There was a little bit of a struggle there, where they were able to cut it to 4 with a minute and 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, but it just, you can kind of feel it that the energy was gone.
Let me ask you guys, what do you think the Celtics' approach on offense should be when Tatum is on the bench?
Oh, did I say Cody Martin? God darn it.
Is that his brother? You're saying his brother?
Yeah. Maybe they switched and we didn't know. Maybe that's what happened. All right, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying, what do you guys think the Celtics' approach on offense should be when Tatum goes to the bench?
I mean, run up and down, especially if Jaylen Brown is playing. Like, try and get buckets that way, because he breaks the game wide open when he does that. And then, try and keep the ball movement, the player movement going better, because he sometimes isn't conducive to that. So, yeah, just do the things that maybe he isn't great at and focus on that. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when Tatum goes to the bench, you need to have someone that can get in there and penetrate the defense, right, and get some things going. That's, Brogdon can come in there and get in there. Although I feel like Brogdon isn't always like, driving, kicking stuff like that, but you need to be able to get the ball into the middle of the floor. And Brown, a great call as far as the transition game, because he's kind of unstoppable generally there. So they would have to work as much as possible.
Yeah, he did some of that today. He breaks the game wide open. He just has something that nobody else on that team has.
But that's the thing with Jaylen, though. It usually, when he gets in transition, it starts with his defense. Yeah. When he wants to, like, he got that steal, he got the block or something like that, and he got in transition. When he's not really defending at that level, he's not really able to get in transition and finish off those plays.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, I feel like there's times where other players on his team make a nice play defensively. He just gets out and runs.
That too. Yeah, absolutely. As he should, right? Yeah. But, like, against the zone, right? Like, the beginning of the fourth quarter, Tatum was on the bench. I think they go on. There was a 9-point lead. They score 5 straight, and automatically calls a timeout. It's like 9:30 something, and then they put Tatum in. Right, so like those minutes, it was just. I have to look at it, but I think they shot like 3 threes and really no ball movement, anything. Like the offense just automatically stagnates. And they were in a zone. It's like they have no idea how to attack the zone. The first possession Tatum gets in after the timeout, he gets to the middle and hits the free throw line mid range. Yeah, and it's just like,
and that spurred a 12-0 run. That ended the game right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we need more super chats. Let's get to those real quick. So Martin Jose, best friend of the breakdown. Thank you so much, Martin. Always love to see you here. This Heat loss makes no sense. How can they close out Game 5 in Boston? I don't want to see them blow a 3-0 lead, especially with great organization and coach. I got to tell you one thing is I was looking at this thinking I have to go on a trip this weekend. And I had to go on a trip last weekend. I was like, I'm going to actually miss 2 straight weekends where I really can't get work done in the middle of the conference finals. So I had visions of like, oh my God, the other series ended. This series could end. And then I don't have to really worry about it until I get back. It'd be amazing. So I'm a little bit worried now that we're going to end up playing this weekend a little bit. And not that I would not want that because business is business. But I don't know. Do we feel like they're going to be playing on Saturday?
Friday? Thursday? Thursday and Saturday. Yeah, right.
I feel like everybody's been doubting the Heat throughout this whole run. So are we going to continue to doubt the Heat, or do we say that the Celtics will continue to extend this? You know, that's really the question.
Yeah. I don't have faith in Boston. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at it, they're what is it, like 10-11 at home, dating back to last year.
The thing is, though, I mean, like and Martin Jose says it right, like great organization and coach. The thing is, though, it's
just one game.
No, not only that. I mean, Boston is just more talented. They just are. Like when you got guys like Tatum, Brown, Brogdon, Horford. I mean, you see the guys that are playing with Jimmy. Like they're really great players. They're overachievers, but they don't have the talent level that Boston has. So when that's the case, this thing could continue to get pushed easily, in my opinion. Yeah,
and they got to be careful. What am I going to say? Gosh darn it. I'm looking up the percentage because here's the thing. They didn't even shoot that well from the 3-point line tonight. Where is it?
The Celtics? I thought they hit like 18. Was it 18?
They hit 18, but what's the oh, here it is. Okay, so they hit 18 against Atlanta. Where is the other 18?
They shot 40%.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. They haven't updated it yet in D-Ball Ref. That's why. What do they shoot? We know that. I already had it up. What did I say?
40% from 3?
40%, 18 for 45. So if you look at that over the course of the whole season, they've had a number of games that were above 40%. So that would have ranked them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th best or 7th best of their 17 games. So because you want to say, well, that's as great as they've shot all playoff long. It's probably not going to happen again, but it could, right? They were moving toward a regression to the mean this whole time for the first 3 games. They couldn't keep missing that badly. But they don't need to shoot even that well, right, to win. They won by what, 18, 20? What was it? The final?
17.
Yeah. So, they don't need to shoot. They don't need to make 18. They could make probably 14 and still win. So there's some leeway there. And I guess we'll have to find out exactly what the Heat were going to do. But I will predict that they're going to probably adjust their defense. And they might not play zone again. They didn't play zone at all in the game 3. That said, it got loose kind of quickly, and they didn't feel like they needed to, and they could save it. But that could be another thing where they're going to have to maybe avoid the zone and stop helping off, and then shutting that down better, and then the threes won't start raining down. All right, we have some more super chats. Let's get to those. Bobby Valentino, excuse me. Coach, another thing that C's did was handle Miami's double teams in their zone slightly better, moving guys instead of having them stand on the 3-point line to get in Tatum's line of sight. And by the way, thank you. So really, really generous super chat. Thank you, Bobby. And I think there's another one coming up. You have a couple. What do you think? I'm trying to now picture in my head, like, were they moving better? I think they passed better, right? I feel like there was more passing I did the video. I don't know if you saw it this morning, where we showed them averaging 275 passes per game all season long. Their offensive rating was elite. It's in line with how they increased their passing last year when they went from mediocre to like the finals. And then all of a sudden, overnight, as soon as the playoffs hit, it plummets 25 passes per game, even though the pace goes down in the playoffs a little bit and the possessions are less. Not enough. It's still a 13-14% drop. Weird. And then it didn't matter to them until they hit the Heat, where the Heat have a really good defense.
I mean, I feel like the Celtics were just shooting it with confidence. Even, Smart missed some shots. He missed that shot, I think, at the end of the half, right? But, he still shot it with confidence second half. And then, as I said, Al Horford, Grant Williams, Tatum, they were all just letting it fly. I don't know if the ball movement was that much better. I remember Tatum having a few nice passes, but they were just letting it fly, and they were making shots.
I think Tatum was a little bit more was trying to pass a little bit more. I think that there was something there they noticed. I'm actually want to know what the 3-point frequency was. 45 out of 84. So they took 54% of their shots as threes. I'm going to check it right now, but I have a feeling that's a lot higher than what they did in the regular season. And that tells you something too. They wanted to hunt threes. They wanted to knock them down because they knew they were getting good looks. If you look at the looks that they got all series long, I'm sure the coaches were saying that, like, let's get more of those. You'll knock them down. If they don't knock them down, then we'll tip their cap. Great season, great series, and we'll come back next year. So,
but to Bobby's point, I do feel like the wrinkles that Miami's defense has, it didn't have as much of an impact this game. Like their zone, their things that they were doing defensively, like it just didn't seem to affect the Celtics, even though it was the same kind of stuff that it did in the past.
Well, no, okay, that's true for the second half. In the first half, it was really effective. They were knocking balls left and right. In fact, I tweeted it out. I asked Knicks fans, I'm like, Knicks fans, do you remember the Heat knocking balls out of every ball handler's hand like they do in this series so consistently? And everyone's like, no. And I think primarily the answer was like, Brunson was handling the ball almost exclusively, and then they're not going to knock it out of his hands. I wasn't looking for it then, but it didn't. I would have seen it if I when I was watching those games and going through it. So I wasn't, you know what I mean? It was, to me, it was weird. It was like, was it happening? I don't think so. And none of the Knicks fans agreed either. They all felt like, no, this is a Celtics issue where they have a trouble holding on the ball, and they expose it. And the Heat are digging for it every time. The Heat are playing like the football team that tries to get a fumble or tries to get a strip every time. That's what it looks like to me. In fact, and then they had the Tatum drive where he had to cradle it like
exactly.
It's interesting. The Celtics actually, I mean, the Heat have got to play against two teams that aren't very good at passing the last two series. And that could that could burn your defense if you got guys that could really skip pass and make elite passes. Like, I feel like a player like Trae Young or Luka Doncic would just pick this apart, right? Like finding guys for corner threes and all sorts of things like this. Like, neither of these teams have elite passers like that, and neither does Milwaukee for that matter, right? Who's their elite passer?
Right. Celtics, though, last year proved it. They did it. They were throwing all those skip passes, and Tatum and Brown were doing them too, and they just stopped. It's weird. And by the way, that's a coaching thing, right? He changed the dynamics of how the offense works. Even though we finally got an answer as to what happened last year after they were 17-19. This overnight changed everything. It was Missoula, apparently, and maybe it's why he got the job. Like, that has to be one of the big reasons why, when they were looking at the turnaround, they said, well, he spurned this by getting them to be Tatum and Brown together in film sessions, going over with them. But how does that not translate again? Although, let me rephrase that. It does translate because it worked. I mean, they were throwing the same amount of passes at least and still getting, good offense that way during the regular season. But I wonder if, like, when the playoffs started, maybe Tatum and Brown both said to themselves, all right, I was here before. I know what to do. Don't trust me. I'm going to just take care of it all. And then they kind of stop doing what they were doing. I have to imagine that's part of it.
But you guys think it's the offense that's the issue with this team? Because I think it's the defense.
Which team? The Celtics?
Yeah.
I mean, their defense was a lot better this game, and that's what people are talking about. I feel.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, they play with more effort.
Yeah, I feel like they were closing out on threes better, right?
Yeah. They stayed down on especially in the second half on a lot of Jimmy's pump fakes. Like, because it's either he usually drives right. He's gonna hit you with the first one. He's gonna turn around, try to hit you with the next one, and he usually gets that next one. But They stayed down on all of them. Just keep your hands up. Like I swear that all the coaches on the sidelines are just keep your hands up. Don't jump.
Right.
Once you jump, it's over.
Yeah,
But
Grant block on that one of them.
But if you don't jump, he kind of is great at elevating over in the mid to short range and making that shot.
Yeah, over like Derek White, which he keeps making. Like when you put Tatum or Brown or Rob Will, he did a decent job. I want to say a great job, but a decent job. Like it's harder for him to score over that length. You have to just try to keep length on him.
Yeah. I want to go look at the matchups again. I want to see who they had on him. I kind of feel like did they have Jason Tatum on him more? I can't. I'm trying to picture. I'll have to look.
Not from memory.
Right. And by the way, obviously, the mean Celtics fans out there, when I think I suggested that yesterday or whatever, were like, well, don't you know they're just going to screen and force a switch? They won't be on him anymore.
But you don't have to switch. Okay. Like,
because that's probably better to some degree than putting Derek White on him and then they'll just ISO to begin with and get a good shot. Like that was killing them anyway. So if you make him do something else to kind of, into the next level of their offense, that's better than just letting him go and score on the one defender he wants.
But why do teams allow to switch so easily? Like why is it that hard? I don't know.
No, I mean, at least one in the video where it was like, and it was up. You could have gone under if you wanted to, especially on Jimmy. You can go underneath every time. It doesn't make any sense. By the way, that's a failure. And now that I'm thinking about it, all of those switches are doing go under, let him shoot it.
What's Jimmy's percentage from 3 right now? I don't know if you could go under on Jimmy anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
You do it. You shouldn't start that way.
All his shots are short from 3, usually just short.
All right, so Bobby has the second part of his super chat. Again, incredibly generous. Thank you so much, Bobby Valentino. Really appreciate it. And for Miami zone, the fourth, Tatum got in the middle of the court instead of standing out on the perimeter. Okay.
Fair. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I guess was he flashing? No, he wasn't flashing. He was just driving into the middle, right?
Well, if he's talking about that first possession in the fourth where I think he started baseline and he just flashed to the free throw line and they passed him the ball and he hit the mid-range. Yeah. But they usually have him at the top of the zone trying to like initiate passes and stuff like that and initiate the offense. But I'd rather him catch it and make a decision instead of being at the top of the key. Like I'd rather have him in the middle, him and Brown.
I was about to go check that first possession of the second half, and my internet went out for around the beginning of the third quarter. I can't see it, but anyway, I'll get back to that. We have but that's important because when you're talking about attacking his zone, there are very specific seams that you want to get into, and I almost feel like not enough coaches understand that, even at the NBA level. Like the seam in between the guard and the forward is a really great way to be able to attack that 2-3 zone. It collapses a lot of things. It causes two guys. You get open corner threes. And I think like LeBron has done that. I'm picturing whatever it was last year. Oh, no, it must have been the year. No, because who did the Lakers beat in the finals? The Heat, right? Yeah.
The Heat, yeah.
So I feel like it was that series where they were playing zone and LeBron just understood exactly where they'd get a quick swing and he would just drive in between the guard and the forward on the lane line, and then they'd have their choice of shots. And I feel like sometimes, they get so caught up trying to get between the two guards, and that's okay too, mostly more as a passer, but like there's driving areas, and also you can ball screen a zone. And if you don't understand how to do that properly, you can get a lot of great shots. So, I would suspect, the Heat are always shy about their zone. They go away from it quickly when they don't feel like it's working, as they should. But, that's the thing that they're probably going to keep their eye on and keep them guessing. That's why the Game 3 thing was so interesting, that they didn't play zone at all in the first half. And you have to imagine that the Celtics were spending a lot of practice time on it, and then they didn't even need it. So really great stuff. Thank you, Bobby. Really appreciate it. We got some more super chats. Let's get to real quick. Let's see here. Another one from Bobby Valentino. I did see the video this morning, Coach. I commented too. All right, salute. Thank you so much. Wow, Bobby, really appreciate it. You're a superstar tonight. And then also we have Andrew back for another one. All right, Andrew, my goodness, thank you so much, my man. Thoughts on Melo's retirement? Oh, this is perfect. Wish he spent his prime somewhere better than the Knicks. What are our thoughts on Melo's retirement?
I think it's I mean, he had a very impressive career, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, 19 seasons, 10 All-Star games. I think some of his prime was with Denver, right? Like I feel like that was his athletic prime, even though impact-wise it probably was with the Knicks. You could probably put that in there as well. So I mean, he took some teams to Western Conference Finals. I don't know if he ever had the right co-star with him. I think so much of winning NBA championships is who you have with you, and part of it is luck. But I do think he was a great player and an all-time great scorer.
I lament that the Mike D'Antoni Knicks that were there right before Melo got there had to get broken up to get him, because not only did he ruin what was a fun, I didn't ruin it, but that team was fun. Landry Fields, Gallinari, Mozgov, Jeremy Lin. Like, it was fun. They were running D'Antoni's offense.
Wait. Jeremy Lin was during the
No.
Oh, he might
not yet.
He was
Yeah,
there
he wasn't on there yet.
but then he was there during Carmelo for sure. But maybe I'm wrong with Jeremy Lin. There's another guard I'm forgetting though. It was fun.
Raymond Felton. You said Raymond Felton?
Did I say Raymond Felton? All right, he was never that much fun, but okay. But so that I really like that team. Now, because they had to give up everything, then that sort of doomed Melo to not have good teams in New York the rest of the time, and that was
didn't have to. They didn't have to though. That's the thing. Because
right, they could have waited and signed him the next year at free agency. Exactly, it's the other point. So as a result, he forced it. They did it, whatever it was, and I will give Melo. You're right. Melo was a great scorer. I love the way he played and the way he scored. And he probably, for his level of superstardom, whatever that would be, had probably the worst teammates of anybody in the NBA for most of his career. I would think he was on some really not good teams.
I mean, he had AI and JR for in Denver.
Yeah, but AI was done. He was washed.
Was he all the way done? It wasn't like Memphis AI. I don't think he was all the way done.
All right.
No. He averaged 28 a game.
No.
Yeah.
Denver.
He averaged like 27 or 28 a game in Denver.
He had one good year or two.
I think it was two.
He had 26 a game in Denver in 82 games at 41.8 minutes. God, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
I remember they were going crazy that year.
Who else they had? They had some other good players. Andre Miller was on that team, right?
All right, let's look at this team. I'm thinking of the New York teams, but and even though they had the team with Jason Kidd, right, that was sort of like that one-off, kind of lucky. All right, so that team was Allen Iverson playing almost 42 minutes a game at age 32. All right, Carmelo Anthony was
Anthony Carter,
and Marcus Camby, Kenyon Martin, Anthony Carter, Linus Kleza, Nahara. I mean, it's pretty slim. J.R. Smith, Nene. But Nene didn't even play. He must have been injured most of that time. So, there's something there, but it's not great, Bob.
But the year after, didn't they? Well, when they traded for Chauncey, didn't they go to the Western Finals with that same team versus the Lakers?
Yeah, here's Chauncey. So, Melo played 66 games that year at age 24, and then but Iverson he played 3 games and he was done.
Yeah.
That hurt them. But Chauncey came in, averaged 18 and 6, and was good. And then let's see, how far did they get? They went to they went to the conference finals and lost to the Lakers in 6. Oh, that was the Lakers that won it.
Yeah.
Yep. So no shame there.
Huh. I mean, and Melo's one of the best ISO scorers in NBA history. Like that triple threat stuff he has, one dribble pull-ups. Just
in his prime in Denver, that was
and in Denver he also had like the first step, like he was too.
I think he was like the first when I really started watching basketball. His first step was probably one of the most notable. Like, wow, like it's really fast. It's really hard to guard.
He's really strong too. Like that's an underrated facet of his game too.
Oh,
really strong.
And he had the prettiest jump shot of anybody. That's the other thing, especially off the dribble.
And he learned to stretch it out to 3 later in his career.
That's the other thing was he averaged, a couple of threes a game the first, 10 years of his career.
Mid-range Melo.
Yeah, and it's too bad because that would have been that kind of Bird thing where he needed. I mean, he shot some, but he should have been taking 7 a game the whole time, and he would have been better. He would have been driving more, and then that mid-range would be even more devastating. So I would like to see, like, I guess Durant is the equivalent of right. Durant is sort of that way where he does shoot more threes, and that opens up the mid range, and then he finishes.
I actually looked at Durant's three-point attempts. They're not. It's. I think the most he's taken is like 6.5.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Like he should be taking 12 a game.
Yeah, that's true. Although 6.5 is still like 3 times more than what Melo was doing, or 2.5 times more in his prime. That was the issue, and we won't get into like Bird. Bird shot like 2 a game, maybe, or 1 a game. It was crazy.
I mean, the 3-point line was just introduced.
That's true, but they could have figured that one out, and then even like Steve Kerr.
Could they have figured it out? Like things take time sometimes,
Yeah. Well, listen, my sophomore years when they added the 3 in my high school, and so we knew enough not to take a shot just inside the 3, which is like kind of getting close to being like threes or layups. So we were kind of in that realm. We weren't going to take an 18-footer. We knew that. And so, somebody could have figured it out earlier. I would have been a lot happier. I'll tell you that.
If you watch LeBron's early highlights, he shot a lot of mid-range right in front of the 3-point line.
They were so bad. Bad.
Yeah. And even then we knew that was bad, but they did it anyway. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. All right, we got some more super chats. But awesome question, Andrew. I'm really glad we could touch upon Melo. Don Mata. As much as I'd like to see a 3-0 comeback, Celtics are so prone to mistakes in close games toward the end of the regulation. That's how they'll lose, in my opinion. I mean, you're right. That is not a false statement, and you can tend to put a little pressure on them and wait for them to give it to you, just like the Warriors did too. So,
they say on the broadcast that the Celtics are second in close games or something like that. The Heat were first.
Oh, in terms of the number of close games they played this year?
Yeah, in one.
In one. I mean, listen, they won 7 games this year, so they won a lot of games. They know how to do it, but it's been shaky. I mean, there's enough evidence here. Like for instance, you watch Denver play in this playoffs, and they looked absolutely like world beaters. I think we're going to eventually realize that this team is one of the great all-time teams. Now, you don't see them do this. I think for 3 minutes last night or the other night against the Lakers, they had that. Oh no, maybe it was game 3. When did Michael Porter Jr. try to inbound the ball and then catch the bounce? That was game 3.
He caught the what?
He was inbounding the ball and he ended up dribbling it and then touching it again. It was a turnover. Remember that? Trying to inbound it with no defense on him. We don't remember this?
I don't remember that. No.
Oh, okay. It was I tweeted. I think it was game 3, not game 4. But it was a part of a meltdown that the Nuggets had for about 3 minutes, where all of a sudden you thought maybe the Lakers were going to take it, and then they got it all straightened out. But that's the only time I could think that you ever saw the Nuggets even look close to being a little shook. The Celtics, have had numerous moments throughout this playoffs where they really look like they didn't know how to play basketball. That's a problem, and that's when you kind of think that they're not ready to win a title. And they're certainly not in the position now to even talk about making the finals. So, yeah, I think I kind of feel like it's going to be over, but it's hard to imagine them winning. Can the Heat do it on the road? Well, what did you say, Chris, about the home record for the Celtics in the playoffs?
They're like 10-11.
Over the last, 2 years?
I think dating back to last year.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's
11,
not.
really? I can't even believe that.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Wow.
Really bad.
Wow, I have to do a Owen Wilson. Wow.
That means like they must have a good road record, right? I mean, they made it deep.
Yeah, they play better on the road. Like the game 6 versus Milwaukee on the road. Like they have big games on the road.
You know what? The NBA is a weird place. The things that you used to be able to rely on and know and have certainty about, it's all out the window now. The 3-point shot. You just don't know.
I'm slowly starting. Not slowly. It's like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I don't know anything.
But and then meanwhile, because that skill level is risen, Gabe Vincent can do some crazy stuff himself to get to the basket, or Max Strus is doing stuff off the dribble, and Duncan Robinson, these are the guys that would never gotten close to dribbling more than twice in a row. And I used to joke about JJ Redick, like he had a 1 dribble rule because every time he dribbled more than twice, it was just a disaster. And no longer are you going to have that, right? We now know how to teach, and I don't even want to say it's a fault of JJ's. I don't think we taught dribbling properly, for all these years. I think we finally kind of unlocked some things, and there's some guys out there that are sharing really great stuff about how to dribble and to develop it properly, and so that guys can really do it.
How has it changed?
So, it's a really great question. You put me on the spot. Well, I think like the way I teach it now, because what did we used to do that I felt like didn't ever work? It was all static drills where you're just in place, you're bent over at the waist.
I guess we're learning that footwork and foot speed and change of pace and what you do with your feet and your lower body is just as important as what you do with your upper body and your hands.
Okay. I mean, I think it's even as simple as like what I learned growing up was like machine gun dribble as hard as you can from lower than your knee, right? That was what was going to get you to be a good dribbler.
I mean,
that's you realize that when you watch the good dribblers, none of them dribble the ball anywhere close to that low. So when you can groove, like what I feel like I've unlocked when I've been training dribbling now is dynamic ball handling. We have to have them moving in the space like they would be in a game. None of this static stuff anymore. 2-ball drills, but whatever. I mean, I've seen people improve on 2-ball drills, so whatever. The ball to the waist. That is where you want the ball to be, next to your waist at the waist level, as much as you can. An occasional dribble goes low when they reach and you're going by, whatever, and it's right back there again. You can be balanced and see the floor better. And I think, and then also the dribbling rules have finally gotten to the point now that where they match what the rule book says. So if you want to do a crossover and your hand goes to the side of the ball, like that's legal. And everyone understands that now. Whereas, when I was growing up, or maybe a little bit before I grew up, if you did a crossover and your hand went near the side of the ball, they'd call it carry. And they would say it. Hand has to be on top of the ball. And I think I showed you, right? I have all these rule books I bought from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way through. And not one of those rule books that talks about at all anything about where your hand has to be, other than potentially underneath the ball. Other than that, it's fair game. So I think that's another big reason.
It's interesting. I mean, I think like if you think dribbling low is the end all be all, that's crazy. But I think that could be part of what you do when you're working on your handle. Right, like I think going high, low, fast, slow is important. I think all the great ball handlers can go high, low, fast, slow, change speed, change rhythm. Yeah, but I do like the footwork stuff that people are doing these days, like and the balance and the shiftiness. I think there's more of an emphasis on shiftiness than just what you're like machine gun dribble with your hands. It's like
okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think my favorite part of it now is opening up people's eyes to where the hand is in the ball. When we were growing up, then there was never any attention paid to that. You just do it like here, you do crossover. But now we can get into the sort of fundamentals of, okay, what is a crossover? Your hand goes to the side of the ball. You use your wrist. And like those are just little tips that, at least for me, I've seen a lot of acceleration of the process once we understand that and you give them that tactile focus, where they can actually do it that way versus just sort of like trying and after like 100 times they kind of get it. You can kind of cut out a lot of the extra reps and get there quicker.
I mean, growing up in New York City, everybody used the hezzy move, and your head kind of went under the ball on it, and it was always like the argument if it was a carry or not. And that's years ago. People were doing that. So, but we're from New York. We're ahead of the curve.
That's right. Well, the float dribble is huge. And once you teach that you can take as many steps as you want in between live dribbles, what you said, as far as the footwork is really important, right? And that's where you can start to do a lot of great stuff with gallops and skips.
Gallops are good.
It makes it really hard. And if you want to come up and pressure the ball now, you can't. And who did it? Actually, Jimmy did it. So often now, like, we used to talk about the crossover where you dribble the ball and it would bounce like right in front of your feet and go. And it's kind of like you can't get away with that these days because the guys will reach and knock that ball away. Jimmy did have one tonight. He had a very old school traditional, crossover right in front, but he's doing all that delay stuff. If you see Jimmy, he's doing the James Harden delay. He goes through the legs and then doesn't go until the ball touches his hand. Whereas a lot of times younger players go, as soon as the ball is bouncing, they're trying to like accelerate all at once, right? And it doesn't give you that shiftiness like you're talking about. So when you let the ball come up to your hand and then plant the back foot, you can it's almost like, how like if your car is in the air, all four wheels, and you start to rev it up and then you drop it on the ground, and it just like takes off because the wheels were spinning so fast. That's sort of what that delay is for him. Gets by everybody every single time. If you notice that, right? He gets by everybody. Doesn't matter. He's so shifty.
SGA got some stuff with the basketball and his footwork and his Euros in the lane and his deceleration.
And it's only his acceleration isn't like crazy acceleration. He's just
deceleration. I said
decelerate. Okay, yeah, that's true. He really and that I get so worried. I've been trying to teach it a little bit, and it's like there's so much force on your quad and on your knee. If you don't, and especially if you don't do it right, like I feel like that's probably what we saw from Oladipo. Because remember, Oladipo broke out with deceleration up the wazoo. He would be going absolutely full speed, and he would break, and that leg would I can't believe he didn't break off right in front of him. And then, sure enough, what happens? He gets these kind of random, weird quad stuff going on. One of them was not even on a contact. I have to imagine it's related to that, only because when I tried, I've seen it up close being trained. It's like I can't believe how much stress you have to put on that. Harden had, remember all the
it was a hamstring.
Yeah,
because
Luka is great. It doesn't have to be like 100 to 10. It could also be like 70 to 30.
Yes. That's what SGA is good at, because his 100. He's got 70, but he goes from 0 to 70 versus like 20 to 70, and that's
Luka,
like so hard.
Luka
but
too.
SGA and Luka though are what they have in common. They're like both 6'7" long.
They're both big. Yeah,
they have the size to be able to put on that other person, get the shoulders and all that, create the space. Help with the deceleration.
I guess SGA is kind of that wiry. I guess he's not like but he's wiry. Yeah. All right, we got some more super chats. Let's get to those before we get to the end of the show. SJ. Oh my God, we got some more Korean won. Thank you so much. This was like $6, I think, is what we translated to last show.
You.
So thank you so much, SJ. Do you think that the Celtics are going to relax for Game 5 since they avoided the sweep? I certainly hope not. And if they come out relaxed and get blitzed in the first 5 minutes, then Missoula's got to go. If he can't get them ready to go, and maybe he won't. Maybe it's not his fault. I don't know, but that's just reflects poorly on everybody.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
All this is about mindset and mentality. If you could get a psychologist to just give your team a level of desperation every game, that'd be the way to go, because teams just don't have it every game. It's all human psychology,
Well, I've been talking about this a lot, and I've been formulating the idea about in the modern era, 3-point shooting is obviously key, and the big component of 3-point shooting is your mental space, is the mental aspect of shooting the ball. And I think what the danger is you can see entire teams get infected with the insanity.
I miss
a couple shots, you start pressing, and then the next guy misses a shot, and then I got to make the shot, and then you're not in the right headspace to actually successfully make 3-point shots. It's that important to have that rhythm and that confidence that you have, right? So I think that if you're a coach who adds to that, adds to the anxiety, then that's really, really bad, right? Because now you are creating the anxiety that's causing them to miss, or helping to cause them to miss. So what we need to start doing is Tony Robbins. I think you heard me talk about this before, and people on the show as well. Tony Robbins talks about neuro-linguistic programming, which is like Pavlov's dogs. You can train your players to have a positive emotional response to a certain stimulus or a trigger. And I did it. I did it one year with my team, and it works. I felt like I was cheating, really. So I think that the coaches need to develop more of this and understand this better. And it takes time, and you have to, it's not easy to do, but if you develop it properly, on command in a timeout, when things are going crazy, you can say it's like Manchurian Candidate. And I'm telling you, I think that could snap them out of that, and you would avoid having what you saw in Game 7 for Philly, for instance, right? In that second half, all of a sudden they just couldn't get close to it making a 3. And you could see it on their faces. We saw it with the Celtics a little bit too. We saw it with the Warriors. It just becomes a thing where they're not going to make those shots. They're not going to get regulated. But by the time they do, the game's over.
You saying there's a level of contagion?
Yeah. Listen, you played at that level, or the pro level. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's in society as well. When somebody starts doing something, then one person copies them, then everybody thinks that's going to happen to them, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. One guy yells at the other teammate angrily.
Oh, yeah.
The other guy yells back at him. The coach is like, stop, calm down, whatever. And then it's like.
The craziest thing in the history of humanity happens in groups, because it gets exacerbated. Things get crazy. People start copying each other, and things go insane. So
yeah, I hear you. That's good. That's probably why they have solitary confinement. So anyhow,
well, we're social animals, so that's the worst kind of torture you could get.
That is also true. So Pete, thank you so much for the wonderful super chat. Really appreciate it. Maybe the Celtics crowd is as annoying to play for as it is to play against. Wow. That's explain why they don't do so well at home. I think what he's probably trying to say is that they'll turn on you in a second if you don't do what they want you to do. Is that fair?
That's fair, but
I feel like Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the Boston crowd, for as long as I've been watching them play, if you just play hard, they're gonna keep cheering you on. Like, that's just how it's always been. They can tell if you're not playing hard, and at the end of the day, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I don't think it's like I think Philly is bad for that. I think Philly, if you turn the ball over just a couple times, even though you're playing hard,
they'll boo you.
They're kind of similar,
right?
They're kind of similar cities, right? Philly, Boston. They kind of got the same mentality in a way.
Yeah, I mean Boston's got a little bit of a different
blue collar, right? Blue collar Northeast cities.
Yeah, Boston's got a little different reputation, but yeah, they're all sort of that tough thing. But in my mind, Philly will turn quicker than than like Boston. MSG could turn on them, right? Don't you think? They'll turn.
I mean, like when that place gets electric, there's nothing like it.
I mean, at the worst, at the nadir of Russ's tenure with the Lakers, I mean, they were brutal. I mean, you saw him; he was complaining about them, yelling Westbrook, and I swear they would, when he caught the ball, they'd be like, "Don't shoot it!" Like they would literally be yelling that at him. So the Lakers fans did it, but maybe out of they were trying to help him. Decision making. Anyhow, Andrew Zoo, looks like maybe our final super chat because we're already past an hour and it's late for you guys. I want you to get some sleep. His question is, and thank you, Andrew, you're the best, man. Maybe one day you'll come on the show. I feel like he's part of the show as it is. We'll have to try and get him an invite. Missoula is the same age as Jimmy. Oh, is he really?
They're super close. I mean, Missoula's 34.
Yeah.
Is coaching hard for somebody that young, or does age not matter? I mean, it depends. Some guys are old at 30, and they just kind of have that old vibe, and they command respect. I would like to think that it doesn't necessarily matter. Who was it? Flip Saunders' kid.
Ryan Saunders?
Not Ron Saunders. What's his name?
No, Ryan.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. He wasn't 30, was he, when they gave him the head coaching job? Was he?
I think he was.
Missoula watches.
He looked like he was 20 something, right? Like that's even crazier. So, but he did it, and they listened to him a little bit, and they kind of played hard, I guess, And so, I would like to think that no. But what do you guys think?
Missoula watches the movie The Town 4 times a week. He said, "That's kind of crazy."
Great movie. Great movie.
Is it a great movie?
4 times a week. Would you watch it, Chris?
Is that the movie where he walks in, he goes, "I need you to help me hurt somebody, and you can't ask me any questions"? And the guy's like, "Let's go."
Chris, please tell me you saw Above the Rim.
Above the Rim? Yeah, I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Okay. Well, all right. So he's in between. I haven't seen it, and
I couldn't believe Coach Nick didn't see Above the Rim.
Not only that, I thought it was the other movie. The Kevin Bacon movie.
You thought it was the Kevin Bacon movie. Yeah.
What movie? What was that one?
I saw that one too. That's nowhere near as good as Above the Rim.
The Invisible Man?
No, I'm thinking of The Air Up There, aren't I?
Did you see the Hulu White Men Can't Jump? Did you?
I seen that this weekend. It's kind of corny, but it's not bad.
It starts out slow, but it's pretty good by the end, I think. Yeah.
Should I do a breakdown of it? Maybe I should, capture it and.
You can. They actually run. They run some plays.
That's a great idea for after the playoffs, right? I think.
Oh yeah. So there's enough basketball footage to do some diagramming.
Absolutely.
By the way, I didn't do that with Uncle Drew, and I really should do that too. There's some interesting things there. You really get a chance to see Reggie Miller look at the ball when he shoots, and with eyes follow it. They have these shots looking straight down on him. But maybe there's something there for Uncle Drew. Did you guys see Uncle Drew?
Yes.
I was in New York for the premiere of Uncle Drew, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I did a whole video on it.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun screaming at Shaq to try and get him over to get on the camera. I couldn't get him close enough. But who did I interview? I got some people. Gosh, I'm forgetting now. But anyway, I almost got to talk to Reggie, but he blew right past me. I was like, Reggie, he wouldn't even stop.
He's fast.
Yeah, he's so fast. He's still got some moves. But anyhow, well, listen, I think this show was a success.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, sports fans. Oh no, that's.
Oh no.
Why is it sports fans and not basketball fans? I think you have a plan to do more, right? Like maybe football breakdown.
Well, no, but I used to offer this up as a good trivia question. Where am I? What am I referencing by saying, "Hey, sports fans"? And I don't know if anyone's still around from those days. That's what's interesting. And anybody in the comments, are anybody still here from like 2012, 2013? You know, can you say you were describing? Because first of all, I'm old, but second of all, or OG, whatever you want to call me, but you know, it's funny. Sometimes I talk about things a long time ago all the time, and then I don't talk about it ever again. But somebody remembers, you know, oh yeah, I used to always say that. So I didn't always say you win. I remember where I was when I came up with that. It's not a channel; it's a conversation. You win. And so, and I remember like one of the first times I actually even did it. And then remember people used to make fun of me for that. I don't know if you guys remember any of that stuff. All right. I'll tell you, you want to know where sports fans comes from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not from Johnny Most. And we all know Johnny Most, right? The famous Celtics play-by-play guy.
He went like, he talked like this. Yeah.
He didn't always sound that way, but by the end he talked like that. There's a footage on YouTube of him introducing the All-Americans from 1960, blah, 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 whatever year it was. And he goes, hey, sports fans, Johnny Most here, whatever. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. But it wasn't from that. However, what I'm referencing might have been from that. And now I'm taking it. So are you ready? Let's see. Somebody saw my video on Michael Jordan shot to beat the Cavs around 2012. Oh, wow. Seahorn. That's amazing. Yeah. And Lou Tuber. Okay, cool. Playoff.
Those are all still up, right? All those old videos.
Yeah, don't watch them though. I mean, I watched an old one the other day. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. But I looked a lot younger, so maybe watch that. That's always nice. Okay. There's a great movie, which I know you guys have not seen, but there's a basketball connection to it, which is why I think that maybe the writer of this book that the movie was based on used Johnny Most's thing. But let's see, Class and Gamer. Nick's been since 2014 first video I watched was Spurs game 6 versus Thunder. Ooh, that's a good one. The music has gotten better. Okay. Here's the book. It's not actually a movie. The movie is called The Great Santini, and it's based on a book of the same name by Pat Conroy. Pat Conroy wrote Prince of Tides, another big movie maybe you'd seen. Nick Nolte, Barbra Streisand. No. So The Great Santini is about a Navy pilot who is like a total military, horrible guy, horrible father, right? Like military, he's grabbing his kids and whatever. So there's actually a great scene in that movie where he plays one-on-one against his kid who plays high school basketball. And it's that moment we all probably know where you finally beat your dad in the backyard, or are you familiar with that scene? And so he does it. And then the father, who's this, he's a gruff Navy pilot, he's just like throwing the ball off of his head. He's like, come on, cry, baby. You're going to cry? You're going to cry because like daddy beat you, whatever. And he didn't beat him. The kid beat him and he walked away like a man. Anyway, in that movie, he keeps saying that's his special phrase. Hey, sports fans, so which now that I'm thinking about it, may not have been the best idea because I'm now imitating this horrible father who ends up being this, whatever, crazy great character, but a horrible father. And speaking of which, though, the writer of the book, Pat Conroy, played basketball at Citadel for Army. And so he wrote a book about it, by the way, which is awesome. If you guys like books about basketball, do you? No?
Yes.
I mean, mostly not, but I mean, I mostly read non-basketball books, but go ahead.
Right. Well, you know what? Pat Conroy is one of the great authors of our American authors. And so when he decided to do one on basketball, it's great literature that happens to be about basketball. And it's fascinating because it's about sort of small D1 program, in wherever Citadel is. Where is Army? Where do they play? North Carolina?
Upstate New York, I thought, right?
Oh, maybe that's right. Yeah. And anyway, it's a great book. And you should all read it. And anyway, I would have no doubt that he was probably a huge Celtics fan, and he probably knew Johnny Most, and he probably heard Johnny Most say, "Hey, sports fans," and that's why he gave the character that catchphrase. So there it is. That's why I use "Hey, sports fans." And then I was in line at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland when I came up with it's not a channel. What is it? It's not a channel. It's a conversation. You win. That is where I came up with it. And probably 2012.
My favorite,
Andrew, I think you're right. It's South Carolina, not upstate New York. Upstate New York, maybe where they play. Maybe it's not Army. Anyway, I'll come back with it. We'll figure it out.
Best basketball book is Heir to a Dream, Pistol Pete's autobiography.
It's pretty good, but really the breaks of the game. Have you ever heard of that book?
Yeah, I got it over there somewhere. Yeah, I read like half of it.
Oh, okay. I read that book every few years. I get it off. And David Halberstam, another guy who is a brilliant writer who happened to write a book about basketball, and it really is terrific. Season on the Brink is another one about Bobby Knight, which is really, really great by Feinstein. Feinstein. We'll have to get him on the show maybe one day because I'd love to talk to him about that. Anyway, it's time to wrap up. Awesome stuff. Really great to have everybody here. Thank you, Chris, for showing up too and giving us your insights into the. You are a Celtics guy, right? Isn't that your team?
Yes,
All right. Glad
yes, it
that
is.
And we will be back, I guess, on Thursday night after the game. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, don't forget Sports B-Ball Breakdown. We're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, guys?
Yes, sir.